Today I'm going to talk about Donnie Darko and the title character, Donnie's schizophrenia. Donnie Darko is a fantastic film by director Richard Kelly, released in 2001. It's a psychological thriller about a boy with schizophrenia who starts seeing visions of a large creepy rabbit who tells him that the world will end in 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds. The first half of this will be essentially spoiler-free, and I will give a warning when I'm going to discuss the film in a spoiler context. The film is arranged as a circular story, one that you almost surely won't understand on first watch. However, the combination of fascinating visuals, good costuming, good acting, fascinating premise, and a good soundtrack make it a movie that is impossible to forget. I'm not even a movie person, and I ended my first watch with my mouth wide open in amazement. Donnie Darko, the title character, is diagnosed with mental issues. He sees a therapist multiple times throughout the film for emotional disturbances, hallucinations, trouble with authority, and issues with his peers. Which specific disorder he has is not mentioned in the film, but it can be assumed through context clues that he has schizophrenia. The DSM-5 criteria for schizophrenia is as follows. 2 or more of the following, at least one of these being delusions, hallucinations, or a disorganized speech. Delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, grossly disorganized or catatonic behavior, and negative symptoms like diminished emotional expression or avolition. Donnie presents with delusions for most of the movie. He believes that there is a mystical force trying to tell him something, spelling out a puzzle that only he can solve. Much of the movie is him trying to put together this strange metaphysical puzzle. Donnie also presents with hallucinations. He, as previously mentioned, hallucinates a large fuzzy man in a dead rabbit suit. Donnie is incredibly unusual socially and often says things that don't make sense to anyone but him. This lines up with the idea of frequent derailment. However, it's almost impossible for a movie made in 2001 to fully accurately portray a mental illness, especially when the genre is fantasy. From this point on, I will be discussing the ways in which Donnie Darko could be inaccurate to schizophrenia and how the film could hypothetically be harmful to the schizophrenic community. The rest of this video will not be spoiler-free, so if you want to go in blind to the ending and actually the whole plot, which I would recommend going blind for, because it's better, I would stop watching this right now. Here we go. The film begins with a plane engine crashing into the Darko household. The plane engine comes from seemingly nowhere and crashes into Donnie's room. He just so happens to be elsewhere, and he would have died if he was in his room. Right after the plane engine crashes, while Donnie's family is staying in a makeshift house, Donnie starts seeing visions of a rabbit. This rabbit tells him, with no seeming reason, 28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, and 12 seconds. Donnie continues seeing this rabbit, named Frank, everywhere. Also, there's a random old lady. Frank asks him one day if he believes in time travel. He seeks answers from his science teacher on it, who gives him a book. A bunch of stuff happens, yada yada yada. Donnie gets a girlfriend. Donnie starts to act out in his sleep during sleepwalking episodes, doing things like destroying school property and defacing the school mascot. While Donnie and his girlfriend are at a movie, Donnie's hallucination of Frank appears next to them and removes his rabbit head to reveal he is actually a young adult with a bullet hole in his eye. Donnie continues to search for answers, finding out that according to the book his science teacher gave him, there are occasionally rips in the universe, creating a tangent universe. These rips are caused by an object which appears in a universe it doesn't belong in. A chosen person must return this artifact to the primary universe before it collapses. Donnie then realizes that the author of the book is the aforementioned old lady, Roberta Sparrow. At the climax of the film, Donnie holds a Halloween party. He has sex with his girlfriend for the first time, and then he realizes afterwards that it is almost the end of the time period Frank had previously mentioned. He takes his girlfriend and 2 other friends to see the old woman who was the author of the book, Sparrow. But instead of Sparrow, they find 2 high school bullies who are trying to rob Sparrow's home. Donnie fights the bullies in the road in front of her house just as Sparrow returns home. The bullies and Donnie's 2 friends leave, and a car runs over Donnie's girlfriend, killing her. The driver of the car gets out, and he's the same guy as Frank was when Frank removed his bunny mask. Donnie realizes what's going on and shoots Frank in the eye with his gun. As Donnie walks home, a vortex is forming over his home. Donnie's mother and younger sister are on a plane to Los Angeles in the meantime, and as the plane nears home, the plane begins to shake. The engine falls off and is sucked into the vortex. The days reverse themselves, and Donnie wakes up 28 days before. He begins to laugh, and then is struck by the engine as it falls into his room, killing him. Frank wakes up with a start, rubs his eye, and looks confused. This is the whole movie. Now, I'm going to talk about my thoughts on how this could be inaccurate to schizophrenia and how it could be harmful. The main glaring thing is that the whole point of Donnie Darko is that Donnie's visions turn out to be true. His delusions and paranoia about time travel are real. The plane engine was the object that was misplaced. Donnie was the chosen person who had to be the sacrifice, and all of his visions were for a reason. He was meant to die. So, is Donnie even schizophrenic? Maybe all of this is happening to him due to a cosmic reason, and he was actually just experiencing supernatural issues. Yes, there are earlier mentions of Donnie having had hallucinations beforehand, and yes, he has a therapist, so yes, technically he is established as schizophrenic, and just so happens to be the guy who all of this happens to, who also has schizophrenia, but there's a problem. The whole plot of the movie revolves around the idea that Donnie's schizophrenic symptoms happen to be completely true. If someone with severe schizophrenia watched Donnie Darko, they may have the idea that their delusions and hallucinations could also be true. Therefore, I would not recommend it to someone with severe paranoid delusions or hallucinations, especially if they were unmedicated. However, I might recommend this film to someone who is asking for a good film about someone with schizophrenia, because Donnie does meet DSM-5 criteria and he is a great character with a wonderful actor. However, if someone was going to watch the film in an academic context, I would warn them that it's not a good film to base any academic assumptions of schizophrenia off of. Since the title character's mental disorder is actually a manifestation of an otherworldly rip in the cosmos, Donnie cannot technically be considered as, quote, good schizophrenia rep, unquote. However, watch the movie. It's amazing. That's all. Bye.